Before Europe could experience a scientific rebirth, it required an external spark of knowledge to end centuries of intellectual isolation. In the 11th century, the Latin West relied on fragmented, outdated information. Without access to advanced scientific texts, progress had effectively stalled. That drought began to break in 12th century Toledo, Spain. Because of its location and history, this city became a vital bottleneck, the physical point where the intellectual future of Western civilization was decided. This era was defined by convivencia, a period of complex, productive coexistence between Christian, Jewish, and Muslim cultures in Spain. This environment allowed the Toledo School of Translators to function. Scholars like Gerard of Cremona worked shoulder to shoulder with Jewish linguists and Muslim intellectuals to decode a world of ideas. This collaborative team systematically converted massive, multi-volume Arabic encyclopedias on medicine and philosophy into Latin. This movement represented the largest coordinated transfer of scientific data across cultural lines in human history. These translated manuscripts contained far more than preserved Greek wisdom. They carried centuries of original, groundbreaking Islamic innovations. One of these innovators was Abu al-Qasim al-Zahrawi. Now recognized as the father of modern surgery, he compiled 50 years of experience into a massive work titled Kitab al-Tasrif. In it, he introduced over 200 surgical instruments, from retractors to the first use of catgut for internal sutures, tools that modern surgeons still rely on today. These translators also tackled Avicenna's canon of medicine, which introduced a strict emphasis on empirical observation and rationality in medical diagnosis. This page from a modern study highlights how the canon laid the groundwork for a systematic study of medicine, replacing superstitious treatments with evidence-based logic. These texts standardized medical education across Europe, establishing the first formal ethical standards and institutional practices for the field. Through this effort, these scholars turned medicine from a branch of theoretical philosophy into an applied, evidence-based science. Beyond medicine, the translation movement introduced Europe to the foundational work of Ibn al-Haytham in optical science. He used mathematical proof to correct ancient theories, showing that vision occurs because light bounces off objects and into the eye, rather than the eye emitting beams of light. Simultaneously, the mechanical engineering of al-Jazari introduced the world to complex water-powered automata and early automation. Al-Jazari utilized advanced mechanical components like crankshafts and programmable mechanisms centuries before they became standard in European engineering. These engineering principles and optical theories provided the empirical rigor that late medieval scholars used to begin the slow transition toward modern physics. These newly bound Latin manuscripts left Spain and Sicily on horseback, traveling across the continent toward the first European university systems. They arrived at the gates of nascent universities in Paris, Salerno, and Oxford. In 1255, the Parisian Arts faculty issued mandates that made these translated Arabic texts mandatory reading for all students. The works of Avicenna and al-Zahrawi became the standard medical curricula of Europe, a status they maintained for hundreds of years. The early European university system was essentially built to process and teach the scientific output of the Islamic Golden Age. The optical theories translated in Toledo directly influenced the later work of scholars like Kepler and René Descartes. This direct, documented inheritance of knowledge acted as the catalyst that allowed Europe to finally move past its medieval intellectual isolation. Today's medical practices are descendants of this era. Every time a surgeon picks up forceps, they are utilizing a 1,000-year-old design. The Renaissance was built on the shoulders of diverse minds who set aside their differences to bridge the gap between ancient knowledge and the modern scientific world. It is proof that true knowledge has no borders.